أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا إله إلا الله Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I greet you, my brothers and sisters, with the noble and universal greeting of peace that has been used by the prophets and messengers of our universal creator, Almighty Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is really a privilege to be alive and to be healthy and to be pain-free, that we can begin to congregate today and begin our lecture, that we can learn and grow and develop, because a lot of people, they don't want to participate in the benefiting of themselves, but they want results. People have this kind of expectation: I should be happy, everything should work out for me. And when it doesn't work out for me, why did God let me down? So people don't want to invest. Generally speaking, I don't think people want to invest time, energy, resources into study, learn, grow and develop, or application through study. So, we send children to school of different kinds. We've been through school of different kinds, and so we know, from first-hand experience in life, that learning is required. You don't have to teach anybody to be angry, to be impatient, to be, to steal, to cheat. You don't have to teach people to fight and demand and control and manipulate, but there is an education of a human being, socialization of a human being usually, that is required. So if a person is not socialized, through everyday institutions and that, then the person will be what is termed antisocial in society, and end up in jails and all that sort of thing. So we have some kind of a system that socializes people. I was saying that, we have a system of socializing people, and to the degree that it works, it does work. But the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, socialized human beings at the darkest time in history. Not to say there haven't been revelations before that socialized people. To teach them how to be humane and how to live humane. And so there has been scriptures, revelations, prophets, messengers, teachers, teachings that have guided humanity through study of truth, haqq, and have guided humanity to demonstrate a higher level of functioning that is possible. And throughout different times in history, human beings were able to demonstrate different kinds of what's possible for us. So I'm just saying that it is a great thing that we are able to study. Even at whatever age we are, we're able to undertake the study that really benefits us. It really benefits us in this world through our death and beyond. Sometimes when you're young in life and you study different things and you develop yourself in different ways, and then for the rest of your life you have developed those skills and you've developed that kind of occupation, and you can use that occupation with its skills in your life and benefit from it. If you're young and you do well at school, and then you can go to university or college or some trade school and develop yourself, or start business, or whatever it is, you develop yourself. The rest of your life can be at a higher level through that kind of development. Now we're talking about spiritual development. I know we've been to madrasa and we've been socialized into that kind of thing. Just read the Quran, don't understand a word of what you're doing. As long as you read it, it's wonderful. Just get on the prayer mat and read your salah. It doesn't matter that you're not aware of what you're really doing and applying yourself. As long as you do it, and do it like this and do it like that. And just in the month of Ramadan, keep your fasts, Just don't eat from morning to, from dusk to dawn. Don't eat, Don't fulfill your appetites. Go for Hajj, pay your zakat. And so we have been part of a system, an institution that has promoted us to becoming a certain way, an identity in the world. And that's wonderful. It's wonderful, But has it really socialized us? Has it really spiritualized us? Has it really guided us to live at a higher level that the Quran itself encourages us to live at? You get what I mean? The Prophet, peace be upon him, his exemplary conduct and characteristics, mannerisms, based in that being the essences of our universal Creator, being peaceful and patient and loving and supportive and kind and generous and honest and truthful and fair and just, and all that. This is how he exemplified what humanity is capable of as human beings. A man who couldn't read or write was able to be transformed and transform the face of the world as we know it, through his higher levels of awareness and also his humanity, his demonstrating of what it means to be humane. So why am I telling you this? Because if there is a learning that we have gone through that has not really allowed us to see and aspire to being like the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, if we are not inspired to actually be like him in his beingness and live as he lived in his beingness, I'm not talking about what the people usually do, have a beard, look like this and speak like that and sound like this and put a hat on your head. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about external identities. I'm talking about socialized for excellence, developed. You understand? A human being that has been developed. Something might be underdeveloped. Somebody might be underdeveloped. When a fruit is not ready to be eaten, we say it's still raw. It's not ripe. You get what I mean? It's not developed. It hasn't reached its point that you can enjoy consuming it. Something is not ripe yet. A human being, when they're not physically developed, they are not ripe yet. You get what I mean? Physically. That means physically the endocrine system hasn't been activated to full capacity. The testes are not producing semen and the ovaries are not producing egg, all that sort of thing to be fertilized. And so we say somebody is not mature yet, physically mature, not physically developed. You know what I mean? But what about developed as a person? Being a patient person, a peaceful person, a loving person, a kind person, a generous person, a giving person, a humane person. What about that? Not what you look like and sound like, and do you fit into this club that you're supposed to look like this and sound like this, Back in the day, there were people in the 80s, others wanted to look like them and dress like them and sound like them, cult figures, that we wanted to look and sound like them, speak like them, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about act, really be in the beingness of, inspired by a beingness of a higher functioning human being. And that's really what the Sunnah of the Prophet is. The tradition of the Prophet is encouraging us to operate as socialized human beings that function in a way that benefit us and benefit other people. And this is the message of the Quran, that Satan is an enemy avowed, and he wants to incite anger in you and wants you to be insecure and behave in ways unseemly, to harm yourself, to harm others. You know what I mean? The message of the Quran is to support the development of humanity, that there be people who use its guidance to develop themselves, to recognize the guidance of the Prophet as a mercy unto all the worlds, in his conduct and character, leadership, in how to be as a person, lead us to how to be as a person, how to function as a person. Those of you who read books on the Prophet, even written by non-Muslims, would be really impressed with his, ethics and his ways of being in the world. That even non-Muslims will tell you, because a lot of Muslims don't even know about the Prophet, right? They just know about the size of the beard and how you must look and fit in. But those who really know about the Prophet, they know he was a really remarkable human being, and that he was given this message not coincidentally, but he matched this message. And as the, presenter of this great truth that is the Quran to the world, he was fitting as a recipient to receive the message, to pass it on, to be a messenger, not a manager. So what I'm saying is that Islam really is about the development of human beings. In fact, truth is about the development of human beings. And we have the opportunity to take time to study and to apply ourselves, to actually develop ourselves, to actually show up in the world actually like the Prophet. You understand? To actually practice the Sunnah in his beingness. When he had his pants above his ankle, he was being humble, he was optimistic, he was friendly, he was trustworthy, he was honest. I said he's optimistic, good disposition, his work ethic, how he lived, how he spoke, how he functioned. Sad to say, in my many years of lecturing in the mosques and to interact with some of these people who, Maulana Guru and gang, they didn't have much of work ethic and the way of communicating, as the Prophet did. It's just sad to see that and say that, you know what I mean? And I don't say that to criticize, because the size of the beard becomes the priority. The hat on the head becomes the priority. Which group you fit into becomes the priority. Which clan you belong to. What you fight for. Who you fight against. Which faction becomes the priority. Understand? There's no ethics. The things that the Prophet really stood for and how he functioned in the world. And leadership. There's no leadership, how he saw the community and supported the community. The Prophet didn't say, let's make madrasas and send all your children to me and I'll teach them. I'll sit in the madrasa and I'll teach them. The Prophet was out in society with truth and demonstrating truth, inviting people to truth in his beautiful way, with wisdom. So the Prophet is a big, it's like the teaching of the Quran. Most Muslims are not really aware what is the real teaching of the Quran. They got bits and pieces, and sometimes in a perverted way too. Like only eat halal, and it's full stop there, but the Quran says eat halal and eat tayyib, but they'll put a full stop. You get what I mean? But halal, forget about the tayyib. So people are not aware. They're not aware that the purpose of our lives is to bring to Allah a purified heart. That's what the Quran says. The purpose of our lives to go beyond underdevelopment into development. All of us are underdeveloped to some degree or another. Somewhere along the line, the whole purpose of development has been hijacked. This is what is called a travesty. When a teaching comes in for a certain purpose and it gets hijacked and its purpose is not fulfilled, it's a travesty. You get what I mean? This is the thing in society where the Prophet was a leader of himself, his life. He led himself and he led his life and he led the people around him, his family, his children, his community and the world. He was a leader. That's what Imam really means, leader. It doesn't mean somebody who runs a mosque, like how you run a business. Let's run a mosque. They, without leadership skills, without development of different kinds, personal development, professional development, ethical development, leadership development. No. This is a great travesty. And a lot of people will never really want to be like the Prophet because they are misguided into just be like who we are, and how we live, instead of the people actually living and being like the Prophet. In conduct and character and mannerisms and learning and growing and developing and aspiring to higher character and ways of being in the world. There's no focus on that at all. This is the great perversion of our time, where the focus is on religious expertise, but not on human expression at the highest levels. Human excellence. You see, so that's why I said, I'm glad that we are here. Some of us, later on in life, having gone through our learnings, we learned how to make money, how to function in the world, how to grow our children up, whatever. We've got houses, we've got cars, we've got professions, some of us, whatever. But we're still underdeveloped with that madrasa mentality, without really the development that the Quran, the Prophet, Islam is to humanity. People don't see the link that eat halal and tayyib is developing you into being a person who is consuming in a healthy way. That if you don't consume in a healthy way, if you don't eat in a healthy way, you're destructive. How many so-called leaders, mosque managers, I might want to call them mosque managers rather than true leaders, it would be more truthful to say that. How many of them demonstrate human excellence in terms of behavior of eating? You understand? I'm not embarrassing anybody. People are embarrassed, that's got to do with them. I'm here to support truth in me, in those who want truth, those who want to understand that our purpose here is development and Satan is the enemy avowed. That Satan wants us to remain the same. Satan wants us to focus on everything else but our development. That our so-called people, mosque managers, Maulana Guru and gang, they're not really demonstrating halal and tayyib and how to eat and how to be like how the Prophet consumed food and his eating habits and how the Prophet's eating habits. This is the sunnah of the Prophet. How to eat is so important in life because through your eating you can destroy your body, which many of them have done. Give yourself heart attacks and then the superstition comes in and says what? This is from God. God killed them. God gave them a heart attack. In the meantime, the guidance of the Quran is eat healthy. Don't let Satan mislead you. Don't miss out on the opportunity in life. Don't make yourself sick. Don't with your own hands destroy yourself. You get what I mean? So we are not really developing ourselves to be like the Prophet. They don't get it. People don't get it that the Prophet's behaviors is what we are to aspire to. His mannerisms and conduct and how he conducted himself. If we did that, it would benefit us, our bodies, our lives, our families, our communities. People don't get that. They think it's just the beard and argue about the size of the beard. You get what I mean? Can you see the Quran says this is a book for those who reason. This is a book for those who contemplate. This is a book for those who reflect. The Quran looks down upon people that do not use their human faculty of reasoning. The Quran says who is worse and more lowly than the person that doesn't reason. Allah gave us the ability and faculty to reason. Satan doesn't want us to reason. Satan wants us to live without developing ourselves, without playing a better role in us, in ourselves, in our bodies, in our lives, in our families, in the society. Satan doesn't want you to do that. Satan wants you to remain unconscious, live subconsciously. Satan wants you to live in a trance, with the heart diseased. You get what I mean? So people don't understand the spiritual development of personality and conduct through recognizing the Prophet. People will argue and they'll fight and they'll want to kill for the Prophet, but they won't kill the ego. You get what I mean? They won't kill ignorance around how the great man Muhammad, the leader that is unparalleled in history, they won't kill their own ignorance to become aware of that and be inspired and aspire and see how they can learn, grow and develop. They won't do that. But somebody says, some crackpot somebody says something stupid about the Prophet, next thing, they want to fight. But they're not fighting for the man Muhammad, because if they did for the man Muhammad, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when I say the man, I mean the remarkable human being that he was. Unparalleled as a leader. They won't fight for that and for themselves and for their families to be inspired. They won't fight for that. You understand? They won't. They won't aspire to be like that. But they'll argue for things like, is your pants above the ankle? Now let's argue for that. They're very good at that. What does it tell you about people? Satan is an enemy of ours. The people won't recognize, they won't put two and two together. That are we living in a healthy way? Islam, the Prophet, the Quran, Allah is guiding us to live beyond superstition, ignorance and arrogance, to actually become aware of Allah and draw closer to Allah. To draw closer to Allah. People say, no, we just do our salah and we just do our 5 pillars. But what about bringing to Allah a purified heart? What about drawing closer to Allah? What about your relationship with Allah? What about submission? The Quran says, don't say you're a believer when Iman has not entered into your heart. The Quran says, rather say you are one submissive in religion. You get what I mean? How many people actually read that verse and actually say we want to be beyond those submissive in religion, and that too a half-baked, lost kind of dark ages religion too. When the Quran, that verse came through, at least it was pure at that time. When they said halal and tayyib, they meant halal and tayyib. Not today, just halal, but eat, don't, I never got invited back to mosques when I made this statement. They never invited me after. Some of them. Others still call me, shukr to Allah. But after I said, we're so consumed with, don't eat the pig, but we don't concern ourselves that the fact we eat like one. I never got invited back to some mosques. They got offended. One mosque, because the big shot who pays, and runs the mosque is obese. The guy was shocked when I said it. Another one where the mosque manager was, obese, was shocked when I said it. And somebody might argue, Ashraf, couldn't you have been more polite about it? Allah forgive me. I'm a human being and I err. And I'm learning every day. And I regret saying it in a way that would offend them. You know what I mean? And today maybe I wouldn't say it like that. But I make mistakes too. You know what I mean? And I'm learning too. This is about 5 years ago I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying that I'm learning and growing. I didn't say anything haram. I didn't say anything. I was curt. I was being a bit egoic myself. Which fortunately I'm not so much now. Purifying my heart little by little. But I'm just saying, people took a lot of offense. It's like I cursed the Quran, or I cursed the Prophet, or I cursed something. When I said we are so consumed and concerned about eating the pig, we have no regard for how we actually eat like pigs. That finished them. They forgot every good that I spoke. This is the times that we live in. You can say 99.9 positive things out of 100. The one part that you're a human being and you say it mistakenly or, but curt, a little bit of ego, they'll take that last bit. Even when I speak here, people will listen, but they won't listen to learn. You know why? They want to continue to be like they are. They don't want to learn, grow and develop. They have no intention to learn, grow and develop. People don't generally. They don't want to draw closer to Allah. They don't want to actually see the guidance of the Quran. They don't want to actually be like the Prophet. They don't want to. Islam is here to support us as individuals, as couples. Because if I am destructive in my own life, what kind of partner am I going to be in a relationship? What kind of home my children are going to grow into? What kind of society am I and my family going to participate in? Allah takes us beyond superstition, ignorance and arrogance, allows us to experience Iman in our heart. Security. As a human being, I'm more secure than I've ever been because I've nurtured my relationship with Allah. I understand what a relationship of submission as an adult is. As a human being, I can read the Quran and see its beautiful teaching, guiding me, guiding families, guiding societies, guiding the world to a higher level of living. As a person who is open, I can see the Prophet for the remarkable human being that he was and aspire to be like him and respect him and see the difference between the mosque managers and the actual imam, the actual leader. You get what I mean? If you think a mosque manager is an imam, imagine how lost you'll be from becoming aware of the Prophet. We live in the dark ages. I'm not saying anything bad or wrong. I don't mean to offend anybody, but the truth can hurt. And if I said it in a more hurtful way than it had to be said, I am sorry. Allah forgive me. So I'm just thankful that we, at different ages in our life, I've lived over 5 decades now, shukr to Allah, and I'm here sitting here in front of you, and I'm here in front of you, that I am speaking to you, pain-free, and can focus on this. That as we focus on the study of what it means to actually be human excellent, the importance of learning, growth and development at an individual level, at different dimensions, at a level of family, couples, families can learn, grow, Muslim community, society can learn, grow and develop rather than stagnate. Human beings are lost in superstition, ignorance and arrogance, even Muslim ones. They're not believers, the Quran says. They say they believe in Allah in the last day, but they don't really believe. So I have the opportunity. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you know any one thing, share it. I am sharing it as best as I can. I understand that there are people who want to learn the truth and value the truth and see the benefit of the truth, that it can allow us to live at a higher level. This is who I choose to be, to live at a higher level. This is who I choose to support. Those who understand that when we don't choose to live at a higher level, Satan is the enemy avowed, we're worshipping Satan. That until you recognize that there is a greater potential for you, there's a greater possibility for you. When you were growing up, maybe nobody around you saw it, and you might have not had an awareness that there's a greater potential for you and a possibility for you and for society and for humankind. But our Creator has seen it for us. He knows what He created. We are His creation, and we have been astray. Satan, Adam and Eve and Satan had their dealings, and we have been left in that state of unconsciousness and living subconsciously. And the Quran is the guidance to humanity to purify the diseases in our hearts, that we may become aware of our Creator and experience security. I can tell you something. I am so grateful. I have become aware of Allah and His compassion and His mercy. But the more I become aware of His compassion and mercy, the more I heal. The more problems that I have disappear and dissolve. I am so grateful that I heard the guidance, that we were guided to truth and to accept truth. Truth cannot be rejected. The Quran says that truth hurled against falsehood, it knocks off its head. That truth is evident. Truth can't be rejected. Only when people choose to live superstitiously, ignorantly and arrogantly, and when they don't receive the truth, they worship Satan. They continue in their ways that are underdeveloped. They don't show up and excel in the way a true believer is. When I asked the Prophet ﷺ, tell us about a true believer, he said, that is one who everybody is safe from. Gave us characteristics of a true believer. Everybody is safe from. A true believer you can see. They not just say they believe, the Quran says they say they believe in Allah in the last day, but they don't. A true believer lives with accountability. A true believer chooses to bring to Allah purified. A true believer aspires higher. A true believer claims the refuge with Allah. A true believer understands that Satan is an enemy avowed, and only those devout in the worship of Allah will be protected. Over them, Satan will have no authority. You see, a true believer will draw closer and closer to Allah, have a relationship of submission with Allah and understand what that is. A true believer will read the Quran with understanding and desire to gain understanding from the Quran and use that understanding. And look at the Prophet and admire the Prophet and be inspired and enthused to live as a stronger believer in this world, a leader. A true believer leads themselves to truth. A true believer leads themselves to security, which is what a believer is, beyond superstition, ignorance. A true believer will lead themselves to light and lead themselves to Allah, the Quran, the Prophet, enlightenment, higher levels of functioning, development. A true believer will stand for their own potentials and possibilities, those of other human beings around them, and encourage them. I will end with one of the shorter chapters of the Quran. It says, by the end of the day, when time is no more, everybody is in a state of loss, except those who have faith and conduct themselves honorably, guiding others to truth and patient perseverance. Very simple. For those who will reflect, by the end of the day, when it comes time to sleep at night, or when it comes to time for the final human sleep, everybody will be in a state of loss, except those who had actual faith. Not those who they believed in it, up to their usual hypocrisy. Those who actually believed, and those who actually conducted themselves honorably. Those who championed truth in the world, and championed people living patiently, persevering in the direction of that truth, liberated by that truth. The human beings that we are created to be. Allah is the champion of us human beings. Allah has given us the truth. It's for us to choose it. I have chosen it. I benefit from it. I'm grateful I had the opportunity to share this with you. It's not meant to offend anybody. If somebody is not interested in learning, growing and developing, if somebody is interested in their darkness and living as hypocrites, it's fine. Don't attack me. Don't come looking for me. I don't have anything against you. I'm just here for Allah, the Quran, the Prophet, and for myself, fulfilling my purpose. Allah gives everybody the choice. Let those who believe, believe. Let those who choose to disbelieve, let them disbelieve. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm not anti-anything. I'm simply choosing truth to fulfill my purpose. I live and die as a believer. I'm raised up as a believer. I bring to Allah a purified heart. I serve me. I serve my people. I serve the people in truth. That's it. I'm just doing what I got to do for me. It's nothing personal. Shukr to Allah who has guided us to the truth. We receive the truth. We apply ourselves. All praise, glory and thanks is due to Allah Almighty. His choicest blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.